Hi, and welcome to this week's 5-Minute Masterclass. The news this week has been filled with stories around the ongoing trial of Adam Johnson in relation to allegations that he has had sexual activity with a minor. Sadly, my professional world and my personal world have been filled with stories of sexual abuse. My personal world filled with stories of ex-school friends or ex-people that I went to school with who have been charged with sexual activity with children and acts of paedophilia. And that got me thinking that sometimes the people we think are least expected or least anticipated to conduct some of the most heinous crimes are often the ones that do so. How many of us would think that a High Court judge could be guilty of paedophilia or of sexual activity with a child? How many of us really believe that footballers could do these things with teenagers or children who are younger? How many of us place all our trust in the teachers that are with our children throughout the day, and yet those children, sadly in some cases, can be abused by those that we put our trust in? Just this week, a teacher in Malton has been sacked for having an affair with a Year 13 pupil, which was only discovered after the school had investigated his reasons for his absence and found that he'd falsified documents. All these horrible, horrible acts have got me thinking about what steps we need to take in order to best protect our children from these situations. Now, I wholly accept there are some situations that we just can never, ever think about that we could try and protect our children from. However, where we're involved with children, we have a duty to protect them and a duty to safeguard them as far as possible. I was once given some stark advice by a leading expert in perpetrators of sexual abuse, who said that if somebody is desperate enough to work with children to commit these acts, then they will find a way in. Most of us will recall the horrible case in Sowham where the caretaker sadly abused and then subsequently killed those two girls in the Grimsby area. As a result of that, a number of safeguarding practices were developed in terms of better recruitment, and a number of actions have to now be taken where you are looking at recruiting people who are going to be working directly with children. One of those is a DBS check that must be taken. I cannot tell you the number of times I hear horror stories of people who hired friends to come and work in their environment where there were children around, and because they knew them, they didn't DBS check. Had they DBS checked, they may have been able to safeguard the children around them and the children that were working with the eventual perpetrator of horrible sexual abuse against these children. So the safer recruiting policies and procedures are in place for a reason. If you're not aware of them, then please go and check them out. Please make sure that you are at least aware of the policies and procedures and you know what steps you need to be taking. If your organisation works with children and you do not have a safeguarding procedure in terms of recruitment, then you need to have one. If you have staff members who are directly involved in recruiting children, then make sure that they are adequately trained and they have all appropriate training and awareness in order to deal with the safer recruitment policies and procedures, and they know what is expected of them and they know what they're looking for. Finally, even if you're not involved in the recruitment process, if you work with children or you have a safeguarding role or a child protection role, then it's your responsibility to act on any inappropriate behaviour that you see. It's your responsibility to make sure that those children are protected. And be watchful, be aware. And I suppose the message I want you to take away from this 5-minute masterclass this week is be on your guard, be vigilant, and just make sure that anything you see that's unusual, you act on. Okay,